Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Markets to Watch from Smack the Markets for week commencing the 2nd of November. So as we start off the week, well, we've got quite a nice environment of positive news coming through. So China manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMIs both exceeded expectations, just giving some sort of light that there could be life after COVID after all. Brexit trade negotiations also seemingly seem to be going quite well in the right direction, and we're hearing sort of positive signs coming from both camps there as well. Having said that, of course, this is non-farm payroll week, so there's quite a bit of news at the end of the week. We've got the US presidential elections tomorrow, and of course the outcome of that could be, well, that could be a market decider for the near term for sure. So there's quite a lot of potential risk on the market and market volatility riding on the general election, and I think there's certainly some elements now that we're hearing that Wall Street are not too bad with the thought of a Biden win, and that could be positive for the stock market. Having said that, the risk still remains if there is a close cut election result, even a contested election result, and possibly even a mix between the control of the Senate and the ruling party. So there is a lot here resting on the result of the general election. So let's have a look at the markets here, and let's take a look at some of the opportunities at the start of the week. Now, if we come and have a look at the Dow first of all, and take a look at this from the bigger picture here, we can see that the market, well, we know that the market's had a huge sell-off last week and in fact last month. We've got double tops forming here across all time frames. We've got bearish signals on the stock markets across the board, but price is now back into, and it's bounced off this, and it was certainly at the moment in the early trade here this month, it's bouncing off this 26,000 price point. And we can see that this is quite a significant sort of level and structure point for the market. Getting underneath this level, well, it does sort of open up significant moves to the short side. And will it continue to the short side? I think it will at some point. I think there is a possible argument here that we might get a bit of a bounce, possibly into the election. But of course that election result is going to decide where it goes from there. So again, if we come down the time frames and start to take a look at the weekly, we can see our 26,000 sort of price point. The market sort of tested that pretty much on the nose, and we're starting to get a run up here towards that 27 sort of price point at the moment. 27, we can expect there to be some significant resistance there, as indeed there has been in recent history as well. So we've got 26,000. If it does get above 26,000, well, it's still got a long way to go before we can start to even attempt to break through some of these previous highs. So the structure is still going to be bearish until we start to get up towards this 29 price point. Come down to the lower time frames, we can see the sort of turnaround here in early trade. I think we might start to, in the early part of the week, particularly today, we might start to see a bit of a bid here towards the 27,000 price point. We're certainly within this trading window at the moment. I would look then to be very, very sort of cautious going into the election, because this could potentially sort of go either way. From a technical perspective, from a fundamental perspective, particularly is weighted to the short side, and of course, you know, the result of the election is going to be the decider, I think. If we come across to markets like oil, now this has been very weak. We've had a strong sell-off from oil as well. We had some trades on this last week, and traded this to the short side once the market broke through the 39 level that we spoke about last week. Now the market's had quite a good run, and we wouldn't be at all surprised to see a little bit of a pullback on this. So come down to the lower time frames. If we take a look at this on the daily time frame, for example, we can see that once the market took out 39, we got that run down to 36. We're now through 36 here, and I think the next sort of structure level that we have here, decision point, certainly on this time frame, is around that sort of 32.30 price point area. Now price has had a good run. It's actually had a drop early trade this week, so some sort of retracement on this could be sort of quite nice. So again, coming down to time frames like the 4-hour time frame, maybe some sort of retracement back into these lows on the 4-hour time frame does sort of coincide with the geometry zone and fair value zone for this market, and it's certainly an area where we'll be looking at to see if we start to see any weakness coming back into the market, just to see if the trend on the 4-hour time frame stays intact. This is an area where we might start to see weakness and a possible rollover. If we just touch on some of the metal markets, metals again seem to be finding support here too, and again, if you take a look at gold, we can see that around this sort of 1875 area, the market's tested once, it's broken through and tested again here twice, 3 times, now 4 times again. Gold overall has got these lower highs forming, which is not particularly a bullish signal. So we're looking at potential support. We might get a push up possibly into that 1.9 level. Again, we're looking at technical potential moves from a technical perspective, without having any potential presidential election volatility. Now that could cause these markets to explode either way. Coming to gold back on the 4-hour chart, we can see that now we're in that trading window with a potential move up towards that sort of 1900 as well. On the silver front, I actually think silver is looking a little bit more bullish than gold, and you see this from the higher time frames. We can see these levels now, $23 being tested multiple times now, and rejections off there too. So like in the metal markets long, pretty much on a risk trade here as well, and again, any market I think is going to be sort of volatile over the election sort of time frame, but overall, if we see continued sort of weakness and risk off sentiment, then we could start to see some money flowing into these traditional safe havens. So coming over to the currency markets, again, what we're seeing is a continuation of the theme of a strong dollar, where dollar is being seen as a risk asset at the moment. So some of the dollar related markets could be markets to keep an eye on. One here that we rather like is dollar CAD, and again, if we just sort of take a look at this from a higher time frame perspective, we can see that price is now sort of just around this sort of level where price has been finding support and resistance a number of times. So it's still within the sort of context of this sort of short move here on the weekly, but we have put in a higher low now. So again, start to come down the time frames and take a look at this on the daily. We can see that the indicators have been sort of fairly bullish. If we get significant move above this price point here, above this level on the daily, which has been very well tested, then we could start to see a move up here towards that 135 price point. Well, that's where we've got this previous support and resistance structure as well. So that's the sort of area that we're keeping an eye on. You can see here on the 4-hour time frame that the market has just been sort of consolidating underneath that 133.50 area. We're still getting higher lows at the moment, so as long as these are staying intact, we could see some more pressure, and looking forward towards that potential breakout to the long side. So there's a few markets there that we're keeping an eye on going into the sort of beginning of this week. It's certainly going to be quite an interesting week from a market perspective, and it could be quite volatile as well. Now on Wednesday we're running our live session as usual at 9 o'clock in the morning UK time. So the link to register, or link to attend that session I should say, is actually on the underneath this video, and you can set reminders to remind yourself to join that session as well at that point. So I certainly hope it helps. Look forward to speaking to you on Wednesday, and speak to you soon. Bye for now.